Welcome to the online training for the JA Excellence Through Ethics program, where we will take a look at the Resource Center and curriculum for this year's program. JAUSA has made this program a national signature program, and it's now written by JAUSA curriculum developers. JA of South Dakota received special permission to adapt some of the scenarios so that students who receive the program multiple years will have different content from last year. Additionally, South Dakota school administrators have approved having JA ethics events with the understanding that the JA curriculum will be used in each classroom. While we still want you to fold in personal experiences, we do need to ensure that you're using JA's curriculum while delivering the program. Let's get started. Page 1 shows the table of contents along with a variety of other overview information. Page 2 contains the program goal and tips for preparing for the visit. We can't stress enough how important preparation is to this program. Please take the time to review the materials. JA created this program so that volunteers in leadership roles could challenge students to think about the importance of ethics. Please be sure to share personal and professional ethics situations that you have encountered. Consider bringing and sharing your company's mission statement or code of ethics to share with this class. It is also a good idea to check the school website to see if the students' code of conduct is available. Keep in mind that classroom teachers are required to stay in the classroom at all times throughout the presentation. Please feel free to ask for their assistance throughout the activities. We want this to be as interactive for the students as possible, so please avoid lecturing. Silence is okay when asking open-ended questions. The students are often processing what you asked, so be sure to wait or rephrase the question before answering yourself. Also, be sure to move around the room during your presentation to help maintain the students' attention and to further engage them in small group discussions. Throughout the activities, remind the students that this is a judgment-free zone and to be honest in their responses. Finally, be confident, relax, and have fun in the classroom. Page 3 contains the program outline, session overview and objectives, and information about activity time. Again, JAUSA wrote this curriculum and has required the introduction, core values, and wrap-up. We suggest you teach the activities in the order they are placed in the curriculum, but know you may not have time to complete all of the activities. Please watch your time to ensure the required wrap-up session can be completed. Every school has a different time frame, usually somewhere between 50 and 75 minutes. You can find out how much time your school has by going to the tab called Event Schedules by Community. We'll look at that tab later in this training. Please note that the day of your event, you will receive table tents, student worksheets, and an eraser for the closing illustration. In order to verify that you've watched this training, would you please email jasd@ja.org that you've viewed the training, or you can simply reply to an ethics email that you've recently received. As we begin to look at the activities, we want to re-emphasize that school administrators want to utilize your expertise to help tie all of the activities back to the business world. Some of the activities do not use a specific business situation because we also want to connect to where students are today, so we need you to provide the connection back to business. Please be sure to print the curriculum so that you can highlight and make notes as you prepare. The JAUSA curriculum provides very detailed talking prompts, suggested answers, and activity instructions throughout the curriculum. To make it easier at a glance, they often use two symbols. The ellipsis indicates things to share with the students, and the question mark indicates a question to ask the students. First, start by introducing yourself and your company to the students and emphasize why you are volunteering. Then, throughout pages 4 and 5, you'll see a series of questions and conversation starters that you can utilize to introduce the topics of ethics, core values, and interdependence to the students. Then you'll introduce the students to a process to help them think about the questions to ask when facing an ethical dilemma. Hand out an ethical decision-making checklist to each student. This will be on the front side of the student worksheet that will be provided the day of your event. Use the talking prompts on page 6 to walk through the process. We'd encourage you to use an ethical situation you face to help illustrate the steps. If more than one grade receives the JA program at your school, your students may be familiar with this process from previous years. Feel free to abbreviate the conversation. As time allows, choose one or both of the scenarios provided on the bottom of page 6 to apply the decision-making process to a real-life situation. To make this interactive, read the scenario and assign each corner of the room one of the options. Have students move to the corner that indicates what they would do. Once everyone is in a corner, ask them to share why they chose that corner and allow the groups to counter each other's thinking. Allow the students in the something else corner to share what they would do and why. To wrap up the activity, be sure to emphasize that there will be times when you have conflicting values, but it is important to know your core values, ask the right questions, and make a decision that you can live best with in the long run. Depending on the time that remains for your school's event, there are 2 optional activities you can choose from, which we'll look at next. The first optional activity is making the right choices on social media. As in years past, the topic of social media is one that teachers and administrators like JA to cover. There are no student worksheets needed for this activity. Rather, the scenarios to read are found on page 9. To introduce the activity, ask the students what types of social media they are using and which ones are their favorites. The curriculum notes that TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Snapchat are the most popular social sites used by today's teens. They typically see Facebook as used by the older generations, so try to avoid Facebook examples as much as possible. TikTok is a newer platform that is very popular. It's a social media platform for creating, sharing, and discovering short videos. It's an app often used by young people as an outlet to express themselves. After the short intro discussion, there are 2 implementation options for this activity. Similar to years past, you could have the students stand in the middle of the classroom. Designate one side of the room as ethical and the other side as unethical. Then read a scenario from page 9 and have the students move to the side of the room that matches whether they think it's an ethical or unethical decision. Allow the students to share why and use the talking prompts on the right-hand side of the page to further the discussion. Also, it's best if you have the students reset to the middle of the classroom before reading the next scenario. To make this activity feel different for students who have had JA in the past, use the second implementation option. For this method, you'd have the students stand in a circle around the classroom. Then you would read one of the scenarios from page 9 and give students a minute to think on their own about their stance, whether it's ethical or unethical, and one reason to support their claim. Then have students share their stance and why, with 1 or 2 students standing next to them. Finally, you'd go around the circle and have students share out their stance and their reason with the whole class. This method seems to generate more discussion. You can encourage students to relate their claim to another student's claim, whether it was similar or different, and you might be surprised to find that their stance will change after hearing from other students. No matter which option you choose, please know you might not be able to get through all of the situations. Feel free to watch the time and pick and choose scenarios accordingly. Along with the discussion prompts on pages 9 and 10, consider reminding students that not just employers, but also renters, scholarship committees, and college admission offices often check social media before selecting candidates. Also, emphasize how social media can be used both positively and negatively, and share with the students if you use LinkedIn or another social media platform for your profession. How unethical is it really is another optional activity. Each student will have the graph on the back side of the ethical decision-making checklist from activity 1. We still want you to place the students in groups for this activity. They will just each have access to their own worksheet as they work together to make their decisions. Intro talking points can be found on page 11. After that brief discussion, you will divide the students into small groups. In years past, we've encouraged you to have students rank the scenarios from 1 to 9. JAUSA has now written the curriculum to have students rank each individual scenario from 1 to 10. We've included JAUSA's instructions, but both ways work, so feel free to implement the activity either way. You'll find the scenarios on page 13 of the curriculum. We'd encourage you to rank each scenario from 1 to 10 on your own prior to teaching to help aid in the discussion. Or if you're using the crossing the line method from years past, you would want to rank them 1 to 9 on your own before going in as well. The curriculum doesn't showcase putting a chart on the board, but I'll show you that option in a minute. Instead, the curriculum provides a way to create a discussion to analyze the results by asking a group which scenario they ranked as a 9 or 10. Then ask if any other group also had that scenario ranked in the top. In contrast, did any group have that scenario ranked as a 1 through 3? If so, allow the groups to discuss their thinking to showcase the variance in rankings. Choose another group and repeat the process with other scenarios as time allows. If you have the resources, we'd suggest creating a chart on the board to help visually see group responses. Draw a simple tic-tac-toe, number sign, or hashtag, as the students would call it, on the board, and then have the students from each group write their responses in the corresponding quadrant. You'll notice that there is not a right or wrong answer to this activity. There is going to be a variety of opinions and reasons for what the students are thinking. Once the students have filled in the graph, you will create a classroom discussion by analyzing the responses for similarities, differences, and outliers. Every classroom discussion is going to be different because you won't know ahead of time how the students will rank the scenarios. This screen shows the actual results when JA asked 6 groups to rank the scenarios. You want to look for outliers. In green, you can see only one group ranked that scenario a 10, really bad. However, 2 groups ranked it as a 3. I would ask the group that ranked it as a 10 to provide their why, and then hear from the other groups regarding their perspective. Often you'll notice good points on both sides. Just because the one group was opposite the class doesn't mean it's wrong, but often it is very interesting to hear perspective. In red, you can see a few other wide variances. Again, ask groups for their rationale and then seek thoughts from those with the mid ranks as well. For the scenarios that don't have a major difference, you can ask them why they felt it wasn't so bad, mid-range, or really bad accordingly. Again, there is not a specific right or wrong answer to this activity, but it is important and interesting to gain understanding of why the students ranked the scenarios the way they did. If you take the time to rank the scenarios before going into the classroom, be sure to highlight things from your perspective and then use discussion prompts found on page 12 to wrap up the activity. You want to be sure to watch your time to reserve the last 5 minutes for the required wrap-up. This can be found on page 14. This year we're bringing back the eraser illustration. JA will provide an eraser the day of your event, and you'll also need a scrap piece of paper, which we assume you can just use an extra table tent or student worksheet. You'll also need a pencil, which we won't be providing, but we assume will be readily available in a classroom. Ask for a student volunteer to come up to the front of the classroom to assist you in this demonstration. Give the student a piece of paper and a pencil and tell them that they have 10 seconds to write or draw their favorite animal or food or sports. It really doesn't matter. After 10 seconds, call time and give the student the eraser. Tell them that they have 20 seconds to erase what was just drawn. After 20 seconds, ask the student, look at the paper. Were you able to completely erase the pencil line? Were you able to at least get the pencil line to fade? The pencil line represents the decisions you make. For example, verbalizing something, hitting send on a text message, posting on social media. Once the action happens, you can't fully get it back. Even if you can get most of it off, there is still a faded pencil line and a reminder that it was there. How long can the impact last? Can the consequences or the impact eventually go away? Those are the things that we want you to get them to think about. Then have them look at the eraser. The eraser represents the effect or impact your actions can have on others. Was it your intent that there would be a mark left on the eraser? We often don't realize how our actions and decisions can impact other people. Have you ever been impacted by someone else's actions? How did it impact you? What did you do? Did it cause you to hold a grudge? Then have them look at the shavings or the crumbs left behind the eraser. These represent the consequences our actions can have. Sometimes there may be things that we need to do to help clean up a situation, like accept responsibility, apologize, or offer to fix what was done. Damage to a person's or business reputation is lasting and irreversible. Even if it's just a little bit of unethical behavior, like a light pencil line, it is still difficult to undo. Just as the paper and eraser are tarnished in this case, so is one's reputation. Now let's take a look at the event schedules by community. You should have received a direct link via email, but you can also access them by going to your community and clicking on JA Excellence Through Ethics. Go to jasd.org, then use the arrow next to the About tab and click on Communities Served. We'll use Aberdeen as our example. On the bottom of your community page, click on JA Excellence Through Ethics. On the JA Ethics page, you'll see all of the communities and schools listed. If your community has more than one school hosting the event, you'll notice you'll need to select the specific school you've been assigned to. For example, in Aberdeen, there is multiple schools. We'll use Aberdeen Central as our example. On the top, you'll see the school address as well as the date and backup date in case of a school cancellation. The time of the presentation and the entire time frame you should plan to be at the school is also listed, as well as the grade levels that will have the program. We encourage all volunteers to bring their photo ID, as many schools are now requiring them upon check-in, and be sure to bring your JA curriculum. Also, pay special attention to parking information, as some schools have designated areas they need volunteers to park in. Next is the arrival time, presentation time, and a breakdown of how many minutes you have in the classroom. Please plan a few extra minutes to arrive on time. Being late is noticed by school administrators, teachers, and the students. You will notice for most schools there is a registration period followed by a welcome and briefing. Then students or administrators will escort you to the classroom where you will teach. When you are done, please go back to the host registration room where there will be a thank you and a debriefing. Treats are not required, but some volunteers like to use them as incentives. Many schools have policies regarding food treats or peanut-free treats being distributed in the classroom. If this is applicable to your school, you will have a special note toward the bottom of the page. Instead of food, some volunteers like to bring in a company trinket such as a pencil or other logoed item. If your school allows food treats, remember we need all treats to be peanut-free and peanut product-free. Some easy peanut-free candies are Jolly Ranchers, Starburst, Tootsie Rolls, Skittles, Smarties, and Laffy Taffy. A few additional notes to highlight. We will communicate with you via email over the weeks leading up to your event, and you may receive a reminder call or email right before the event. It's not our intention to bother you, but we have over 9,000 students along with the teachers and principals counting on all of us to bring this program to their school, so we can't stress enough how much we need you. JA will train the classroom teachers on the logistics and materials prior to the event. Although you are not required to contact your teacher, we will email your class assignment and teacher contact information closer to the event. We know some volunteers like to touch base to check on the technology available in the classroom. We will be inviting media to the events, and there's a possibility a JA rep will come in to take pictures. JA representatives from your community may be walking around, so let them know if you need anything throughout the program. And after the event, an online survey will be emailed to you. Please take a few minutes to complete the survey. It really helps us continue to improve the program from year to year. On behalf of over 55,000 South Dakota students, we would like to thank you once again for your participation. The JA Ethics program is just one program of many that impacts students across the state. We have other programs in kindergarten through high school classrooms where volunteers teach 3 to 7 45-minute activities. The curriculum centers on money, careers, and business ownership. Each community also has JA champions who provide local leadership. They help recruit the volunteers as well as work on fundraising and organizing special events to secure the resources needed to bring the program to your students. Please let us know if you are ever interested in getting involved with other JA opportunities. We are excited to be celebrating nearly 55 years of empowering students and want to thank you for being part of that impact. If you have any questions regarding the ethics events or curriculum, please be sure to give us a call or email us at the state office. Thank you for your participation and your commitment to teaching this program.